All right, my beautiful friends, you and me, here we are together again, and we have to talk. As always, there's so much going on, and I think that's really the draw for me. I love paying attention to what's happening. So what is happening? First of all, it's Tuesday, January 12th, 2021. Right now, let's start off with the markets. Stock futures are pointing towards gains at the open. No surprise to you. Look, how do I put this? I've explained to you that you should be watching the Federal Reserve's balance sheet. It's gone parabolic. Parabolic. Last year, and people are not even fazed by this. Well, because they don't know. But last year, the Federal Reserve's balance sheet doubled, nearly doubled. That pushed stocks record high, record high, record high, record high. Had nothing to do with the economy. Our economy was in free fall. There was no boom. There was nothing going on. It's just debt. More debt and then more debt. I've explained to people for years that the goal of the central banks is to inflate. The more central banks inflate, the more distorted the markets become from reality. There is no reality right now with regard to the stock market and the global economy here. We're in free fall. We're in absolute collapse. This is an economic collapse. But the worst part is, by design, they shut down the global economy by design. Start a scamdemic. Okay, this is engineered. I don't care what you might think. If you don't realize how this is played out here, well, then there's something seriously wrong with you. This is a mechanism to fulfill the end game of the central banks, none more so the Federal Reserve. This has been their goal since 1913 to one day own it all, become the lender and buyer of last resort, and that's who they are. Last year, like I said, Fed's balance sheet nearly doubled. That will continue at a faster pace. Understand how this mechanism works. To keep the current environment just static, the debt must be borrowed exponentially higher. It must grow greater and greater and greater just to keep it static, not even growing. So the Federal Reserve's balance sheet expected to balloon further and expect people to be distracted. That's the mechanism here. Keep them angry, confused, not knowing what to do. Keep them propagandized. Tell them fake news. Whatever you got to do. That's how it's going to play out. So again, stock futures pointing towards a higher open. Okay, no surprise to you. The dollar right now under a little bit of pressure. Gold and silver under a little bit of pressure right now. Cryptocurrency is making a nice rebound here. Bitcoin dropped to around 31,000. It's now almost 35,000. Let's talk about that real quick. We heard from Mark Cuban. Yeah, Mark Cuban is the same guy who said that the market would crash on an epic scale if Trump won the election. You remember me going back and forth with Mark Cuban saying, no, the market's going to explode higher. See, Mark Cuban has no clue about what he is talking about. So he's out here talking about cryptocurrencies being in a bubble. Hey, Mark, you couldn't recognize a bubble if it blew up in your face, okay? Cryptocurrencies are not in a bubble by any means at all, okay? They are not in a bubble. How do we define a bubble? It's very simple. When any asset's price moves above the ability for the average person to acquire it, it's a bubble. Bitcoin, even at 42,000, like it was last week, was not in a bubble. Why? Because you can buy it in fractions. So forget Mark Cuban. You should keep your mouth shut because you're going to look like a fool yet again. I don't care how much money you have. You have no idea, Mark, what is going on in the financial markets, okay? So get a grip, get a clue, all right? And admit to everyone how wrong you were, that if Trump won, that the market would crash. What an imbecile. That's all I have to say. What an imbecile. No, stock market going higher, cryptocurrencies going higher, dollar going lower, massive debt expansion, massive debt issuance. We're done. And no one, let me explain this to you as well, because we keep hearing from the new puppet, puppet Biden. Oh yeah, trillions of dollars in stimulus are coming. Great. How does this help America? How does burying our country and our citizens help us? See, they have no solution. Why do they have no solution? There are solutions to this, but the reason why, now, again, more stimulus, and I told you this was going to happen. It's a guarantee. Trillions of dollars must be created out of thin air to increase the debt exponentially just to sustain where we are. No amount of stimulus, none, can pull us out of the depression that we are in. Okay, but the reason why Puppet Biden now, that's my new name for him, quite obviously, they're all puppets. Okay, this is our current puppet. We went from the orange puppet to whatever this thing is here. Okay, here's another thing. Understand that. This puppet is going to make sure the debt balloons further. Why? Because he's the spokesperson, just like the last freak, for the banks, the central banks, which are the real government, the shadow government. People are not going to get it. They're not going to. Why? But they've been distracted. They've been brainwashed. They don't understand what they're seeing. They don't get it whatsoever. You know what drives me crazy? And I'm just going to touch on this real quick here. This takeover of the Capitol. Does it bother one of you, any of you, that there were no police there, virtually no police, where there were thousands and thousands of people that were called to go there? They knew that this, not only did they know this was going to happen, again, our president pre-recorded a video telling people, okay, they stole the election, time to go home. Pre-recorded. So he knew, everyone knew, that something like this would happen, but no police were there. They allowed it to happen. Why? To, again, allow the deeper, darker police state to manifest itself. They have now thousands and thousands of troops that are going to be guarding the inauguration. Buildings all around the country are going to be guarded by the military. Let me explain this to you real quick, in case you don't know. So the thousands of people that were in Washington over there that were allowed to, not just allowed to, but, fostered. They were told to do this. Go over there and take down the Capitol. What did they achieve? How about a deeper, darker police state for millions of people? They achieved zero for the people. What they did do is allow the deeper, darker police state to manifest itself. What a bunch of imbeciles. You understand that? They were used as pawns. How many times have I said that you are a pawn in a very dangerous game? Every one of those people who are now facing felony charges, not only are they brain dead, and they had no idea what they were doing. What did they think? Like I said, look, we're going to get into the Capitol and we're going to change the world. They were used as puppets. They were programmed, Manchurian candidates, every single one of them. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And who loses? Millions of people lose because, again, a deeper, darker police state is manifesting itself right before our eyes. And now they're talking about the potential for armed protests. If this happens, if these puppets march to armed protests, what is that going to do? Give the freak show another reason to take your firearms. So, patriot puppets out here, if you do armed protests here, realize what that means for the millions of other people who are not puppets. Unbelievable. We have a puppet society, a puppet president. And, again, it's always a small group of people that allow something like this to happen for the rest of us. So if you're one of these distorted, mentally deranged people that either raided the Capitol and achieved nothing but a deeper, darker police state, or if you're one of these mentally deranged people and now talking about an armed protest, how about you're an idiot? Okay? And if you do that, it'll give them an excuse to go after our guns. Okay? Look, I hope this makes sense to you. I really do. People, look, this is all so much bigger than most of you actually realize. And the extremists, and that's what they are, they can't think. They've been programmed, all of them, by a master manipulator to do what they did the other day with the Capitol, and they achieved zero. Other than, again, making all of our lives much, much harder. There's another way to handle this, okay? Not by force, but by using our brain, okay? Force is what they want you to do. They want you to go out there and loot. They want you to go out there and take down buildings. They want you to go out there and assemble armed protests. If you don't realize that, then you really have no clue as to what's going on. All right, look, I'm out of here. Markets right now poised for a higher open. You got a dollar slightly weaker, gold and silver under a little bit of pressure. Cryptocurrency is making a comeback. Don't listen to people like Mark Cuban, because the man is brain dead. I don't care how much cash he has. Cryptocurrencies are not in a bubble. When you hear someone like that say something like that, realize you should be buying more of it, okay?
Quand sur Imagine on rêvait d'un monde meilleur, quand sur Space Lactine Spirit on éclatait nos boutons. Tu te souviens de Korn et nos premières histoires de cœur, quand on entendait l'index et l'auriculaire comme des gros cons. Tu te souviens la NBA, tu te souviens l'MC Hammer. Tu voulais jouer au basket, tu voulais devenir champion, puis tu ne voulais plus jouer au foot, tu voulais devenir rappeur. Tu disais je vais niquer le game et m'asseoir sur des millions. Puis de temps sont tombés, on s'est posé des questions. On n'aurait pas dû, non. Maintenant ça nous saute à la gueule, c'est la déconfiture. Il nous coûte cher le rêve, elle broie des vies cette culture. Sans leur bombe, nos politiques, c'est dans la foi que nous sommes tous devenus de tristes amerlocs. Culture et terroriste état, pour semer le chaos des pompiers pyromanes pour alimenter la fleur. Sans leur bombe, nos politiques, c'est dans la foi que nous sommes tous devenus de tristes amerlocs. Culture et terroriste état, pour semer le chaos des pompiers pyromanes pour alimenter la fleur. Tu te dis c'est Dark City, putain, tu te dis c'est Matrix. Tu prends ton iPhone Apple, ton Android Google, t'appelles sur Facebook à boycotter Netflix. Mais tout le monde s'en fout, tout le monde se fout de ta gueule. Et les infos défilent, les armes de destruction massive. Démocratie renversée, dictateurs installés pour chercher un barbu. Ça balance des ogives sur des femmes, des enfants, sur des villages entiers. T'en viendrais presque à prier qu'ils fassent tout sauter, façon Terminator 2, le jugement dernier. Que ça nous pète à la gueule, que ce soit la déconfiture. Il nous coûte cher le rêve, elle broie des fesses cette culture. Sans à leur bombe, nos politiques, c'est dans la foi que nous sommes tous devenus de tristes amerlocs. Culture et terroriste état, pour semer le chaos des pompiers pyromanes pour alimenter la fleur. Sans à leur bombe, nos politiques, c'est dans la foi que nous sommes tous devenus de tristes amerlocs. Culture et terroriste état, pour semer le chaos des pompiers pyromanes pour alimenter la fleur. Un pote m'a dit:
tu pètes un plomb, c'est quoi le problème, t'as plus de fric? Allez, viens au Starbucks, je te paye un café, on va discuter. Et arrête de me saouler avec ton traité transatlantique. Moi franchement, je vais mieux depuis que McDo m'a embauché. Et puis fais face, merde, pense à tes gosses. Tu vas pas les priver de Coca, tu vas pas les priver de Disney. Pour des gamins, la privation c'est atroce. C'est pas pour rien qu'on a fait une statue, c'est important la liberté.
2 mois plus tard, le self-made man avait perdu son boulot. Il venait sonner chez moi comme un clodo, il avait vraiment une sale gueule, c'était la déconfiture. Il nous coûte cher le rêve, elle broie des filles cette culture.